Okay, you're good. You're ready, Susan? Yeah, okay. We're gonna call the city council work session December 6th, 2023 to order at 5:02. Call to order, please, or roll call, sorry, yes. Mayor Allison? Is absent. Is my mic on?
No, I'm here. I got to mute.
Okay, sorry. Mayor Allison is here by Zoom. John Baylor?
Here.
Kathy Sherman? Here. Casey Kinsman?
Here.
Wendy Rainey?
Here.
Ann Schaefer is absent. Kristen Carpenter? Here. Ken Jones? Is absent. That's a form of it. Thank you. So tonight's work session topics are preparation of the City of Cordova 2024 budget. And I guess I'll let the interim city manager just get us started. If you just go over your memo and we'll go from there.
Sure. So maybe we'll start with a couple of kind of updates and things that were asked for maybe in the last two meetings, but for sure in the last meeting. And then I'm gonna get some help with this, but first I'll do just for general information on the kind of going wages through the AML survey of city wages for a finance director and a chief. The average, we kind of took towns that were similar to our size. The average high cost for a police chief was $123. The current highest level in our pay scale is 103. For finance directors, interestingly enough, it was 115. Again, the highest in ours is 103 because the finance director, the police chief, the public works director, and the harbor master are in a group. So we all have that same pay scale. So I just wanted to throw that out there for you guys to think about. And then also we did a little calculation. If we had Michael from Altman Roger working for us, the max they really thought he could do would be 2 weeks, and that's not even a guarantee a month. So basically for half a year, it's $124,800. A whole year would be 249,600. So I just wanted to give you guys some food for thought. I think we need to spend a little more time looking around. There's a lot of jobs out there. So, and it doesn't necessarily mean that people haven't gone above their height to get what they need for that job.
So it's just the mid-range, this is the average 123, 115. That's the high of what you are comparing in like communities. Gonna ask for more. With that, obviously it wouldn't apply to the chief. No, the working arrangement, when I say that, is in similar communities in Alaska, is their finance director on site? Or are they able to work remotely?
We don't know that.
Okay.
Sure, it's one of the things we're going to kind of check into, and then whether you could actually get a contractor for a person for just you, you know, if you went with accounting companies, you're gonna just be similar to what we're doing now.
Right.
So finding a contractor that's doing just you, it might be a different story, but it might not. Those are things we need to look into and then are on our list. We're kind of making a list of those kinds of things.
Thank you.
Yep. I also am talking with Key Bank, who is the bank in coordination with Susan, what's general,
Alaska Capital Bank.
that they work together. I have been trying to get some paperwork rolling on getting a line of credit for the harbor. Because those things are gonna start coming hard and fast. Even if the feds promise 30 days return on reimbursement, I don't believe that'll happen. So we need to be ready to be able to support that. We did a little, we kind of clarified and did a little bit more on the Alaska airline tax. We do have to implement some kind of personal property tax into our code. So it's a little bit more detailed than originally, but we're still looking into that, trying to decide if it's something we want to pursue, and we'll have a little more details on that. And then,
Will you go back to that?
yep,
So Alaska Airlines, the landing tax
Mhm.
is tied to personal property tax.
correct.
I guess I would be interested to see which communities our size that have Alaska Airlines, unless maybe you have that information, are implementing this tax, and then what are they doing for the corresponding personal property tax? If that's clear.
Yep.
Thank you.
So also, we need this.
And Sam, just to be clear, some of these revenue things you're talking about are things we'll work on over the
It's
course
all-
of the next year.
Yeah, this is all FY25, we are like, my fault.
Yeah, it's not gonna be effective for you.
Right.
We're just keep.
But thank you, circling back, these are, I
Oh,
remember all these things being asked.
Yes, questions being asked.
Kevin's gonna give a quick update on the motor vehicle registration idea that was talked about
Okay.
for a couple meetings.
Yeah, so started looking into that. It does look like we are able to increase the motor vehicle tax. It has to be done by state law requires that it has to be done by the city by ordinance. And then you have to report to the DOT by January 1 for it to go into effect the following year. So if we wanted to collect the tax in 2025, an ordinance would have to be passed before the end of this year, and then we would have to report to DOT. Otherwise, if we pass an ordinance next year and then report to DOT, it'll go into effect in 2026.
Have you found other communities who are already doing this?
Yeah, looked around and it looks like a lot of other cities, the tax ranges between different communities.
Is it a percentage base or is it a set fee? I mean, I guess what are you seeing is what is the tax or?
I mean, we looked at what it ranged from ours is $39 and we saw some that were $200.
Okay.
So it ranges between those.
But it's not a percent, it's.
Yeah,
But it's
it's
just a dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then with that is that whatever that tax or fee is, it's tied to registration, correct?
Yeah, it's.
So every 2 years.
Yeah.
And then is 100% of that back to the city?
State takes, excuse me, the state takes a cut, I believe it's 8% of that.
Okay. Okay,
And it can be tied to the year of the vehicle? But was that what
I
Justin
mean, we
said?
need to look into the exact details of it, but the gist of it is if we want to look into it, it can be done. There's a reporting requirement of the state before it can be enacted, so I don't know the exact fine details, but there is something to do with the age of the vehicle and you can have different tiers based on.
which is similar to what I've seen down south.
Yeah.
But what is different from down south is personal property tax, because that's tied to every time you go and register.
Can I ask, when you said they have different tiers based on the age of the vehicle, what is that achieving, or what is that based on? I mean, is it like older vehicles tend to leak more, or older vehicles?
I've actually seen it the opposite, where older vehicles, you're paying less,
Okay,
newer vehicles, you're paying more.
But
There
there's
was-
case
there
law.
is-
But there is cases
Case law
where,
in Alaska where a town actually was charging higher for older vehicles and they were challenged on that,
Okay.
but they were able to retain it that way.
see, I would be probably almost more in favor of that to get.
and what was their rationale for charging more on older vehicles, do you know?
I didn't look into it, I
Okay,
just was
I'm
given
just
the brief,
curious,
but
yeah.
I can see get older vehicles off of the road.
Or to be.
There's more incentive, you're going to pay less in a fee or tax
Right,
to have a new vehicle on the
right,
road.
I just wonder, I'm just curious about why they,
Well, it could be emissions, or it could be in Cordova, like it's gonna be in our landfill,
Right.
and cost us money there,
Or the ditch.
or a ditch.
It could also be the fact that older vehicles get left alongside our city streets and we have to deal with them.
Yeah, yep, agree. No, we shouldn't. Is it loud out there?
No, it's not.
Could be, might be.
This isn't dark.
Again,
So realistically, looking at this, it seems like I mean, I would be all in favor to get this in for 2025, but that seems like a pretty far stretch.
We would have to hold a special meeting, and so it'd just be, we could have the regular meeting and then.
And this, I guess, wouldn't be something I'd want to push through in the cover of night. I really would want as much public hearing. That's the right thing to do. We're substantially, percentage wise, we would be substantially changing what it costs to register a vehicle.
Except that it effectively has a year-long waiting period, whereas a normal ordinance has a 30-day waiting period.
Which I guess could be overturned if we, I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
Our conference call, we're having a council work session on the budget and a meeting tonight.
Uh-huh. Oh, goodness.
It's.
No,
You yourself.
Mayor Allison, you're not muted.
I think it's that.
okay. I'm gonna need my charger. I think.
I think I'm one of the people, maybe not the only person that has brought this forward. I'm very much interested in us exploring this option. Again, I think currently we're, what, $120, $16, something like that to register your
That's
vehicle?
for the totals, I believe. I need to get the exact numbers from the DMV, but from what I saw online, I believe our tax is only $39.
No, I'm sure it is, but I'm saying total to register, including that 116 or we'll just say 120, 39 of that is the city tax. That's still incredible for it, and it's 2 years, so you're paying $60 a year. To register your
But-
vehicle.
Well, I don't know, I haven't done one in a while, but I feel like my truck or whatever is 100 or 150, right?
That's what I'm saying, it's 120, but it's good for 2
For
years.
2
You go and
years,
register a
right.
vehicle, you're registering. Or I think I just registered. Yeah, I think it was around 120, it was over 100, sure. But it's, again, for 2 years. Again, for me, there's an opportunity, I feel like we could be collecting, we're leaving money on the table, especially if other communities are doing this. It's a user tax or fee, so I mean, you don't technically, have to have a vehicle, you choose to have a vehicle, and like we've said, these vehicles end up on the side of the road and our landfill, all those come at costs, wear and tear on our roads, so.
I would say just for direction for staff, I don't think we should squeeze this in between now and the end of the year. But it would be interesting to continue researching it, and I think to see both ends of the spectrum, whether it's higher at the older vehicle and what other communities do, but I don't think we can ask staff to get a free ordinance by the end of the year. I think that's a little unfair.
We'd have to have it by. Well, I guess,
Yeah, we would need to fit in one special meeting as well as the December 20th meeting to make that happen.
so if there's any more questions, Kevin got one more.
Okay,
Just regarding the ski hill, we're still looking into it, it's a little more nuanced than we expected. But we're just gonna be doing some review of some of the financial information from them, and how that correlates to their business activities, so that we can get a firm, definitive answer on that, so yeah, still just doing some research, looking into that, and we'll get back to you on it.
I was gonna say, full disclosure, Mr. Reggiani and I have been speaking since he is now president and treasurer, of SAA. And I volunteered, he's back on the 9th, so I'm happy to step in and help with that whole situation, and, he contacted me while I was on vacation, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Oh,
I may call you up in a little.
okay.
Okay, so those were my remembrances of things to be looking into. I feel like I've forgotten one, but I can't find it anywhere, so.
Okay, you did really well.
I don't know, maybe you guys remember something.
Well, there's one right here just for the cruise ship head tax. Do we have,
Oh, yeah, head tax, I did talk about that, see?
it's only because it's right here in front.
Oh, it's on your memo.
Yes, so, that's why, because I had already written it down. So Tony and I talked about it, and, yes, Tony, you should come up and help me, so I don't say anything incorrectly. It could be, raised, it was raised 50 cents
Right.
in the fee schedule. It is told to the, you just
Yeah.
don't know it.
So they usually get with us the year prior to coming here, so like at the end of the year when they settled up with us, they asked us if we'd be going up at all. We told them possibly we'd go up some. You know, and then we do have the draft fee schedule, so they can find that if they need it. But we talked about maybe a hold and see how things go, because we just don't, in my opinion, I don't want to scare these people away. We're just starting to build this small cruise ship thing. So last year we had 550 people roughly on each boat, that came ashore. I know a lot of places they charge a lot more, but the complaint I've heard from these cruise ships is that we don't offer them anything. You know, we don't offer them anything to do. They come to the Cordova Center, which is what we can do right now. And then Prince William Sound Science Center offer hiking tours, but it's for like 10 or 15 people, because the time, we don't have a vehicle, they don't have a vehicle that can, so that is the thing I've heard from the pastors, because I agree pretty much every one of them when you come in and stand down there, and I'd be worried right now, just if we get too carried away with it, kind of wait and see for this year, see how this goes with National Geographic bringing in a bunch of people, if that continues. If Uncruise actually comes forward and actually starts doing, they say they're going to, but they've been saying it for a couple of years. And try to build it, and also if we can get, I don't know, Chamber of Community or whatever, to try to offer them something. I know money is tight for everybody. But some kind of offering to get them out the road or something.
Well, I know that's part of what Kathy spoke to us about was their regenerative tourism plan that they have, and they have, I guess, working on applicants, and once they apply, then they're gonna select some people with the idea of getting some tour operators going for this summer, so. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even the 2 years we had Norwegian with the 800 some passengers, we only had capability to do something with 150 of those people. So, and there was actually a bus that we could use too,
right.
so.
And a kayak tour operator.
Yeah, kind of tour operator, and
Whitewater rafting.
yeah, there was a lot more then, so, yeah.
Yeah, I think if we can build on it and then look
Mhm.
at it, and whether we do some kind of split, city and harbor or something, but I mean, I think. See how it goes this year and then go from there. We'll have a new harbor, maybe we'll attract more people. Go to a nice place for them to tie up, and tour vans can go down and pick people up off the drive down dock, and so.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. It's a well-made point. So how would, council like to proceed? Do you wanna just go? I mean, we have a balanced general fund budget at this point in time. And would you like to just carefully go over the enterprise funds, and then we can look at the fee schedule one more time? Are there any questions or concerns about the general fund? I guess that would be my first question.
Well, I guess just with the information that Sam gave us about the salary range for those two key positions. I mean, I feel like the finance director position is something that we've wrestled with for a long time that really needs to be addressed. And I guess I don't know, I missed a lot, so I apologize if you've already talked about this, but is there something like this 115,000 in the budget for a finance director?
No,
Yeah,
the
So-
finance director is not currently budgeted at all.
right. So whether we do that or whether we contract with Altman Rogers, we need to identify some money.
And I did get some money in for Altman Rogers, not quite that much, but the comptroller is also budgeted. Barb, will be retiring on, I want to say the 7th, but February 4th. So that salary will be there. The job is flying right now. We don't have any applications.
So it's flying as a comptroller, not a finance director.
We had we had the finance director flying for 6-ish months.
Yeah.
And then, no.
But it was at a lower salary range, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I think that's a big.
I think there's some things that we have to think about with the whole, salary because of that group, the way it is now, everybody goes together. Like, so if we make the high end 123 and our low end, we just shift back to make that happen. Everybody moves into that wage bracket. Does that make sense? So in essence, we're giving not everybody a raise, but the potential, to move further up the line. So that's something to think about, and that's per code. There's options there. And then the other thing with code is, you're not supposed to offer above a level 4.
So I guess I would be curious to know if it's what it looks like, if you said you've got money budgeted for Altman Rogers, if you add that to the comptrollers or take some of that to add to the comptrollers. Does that get us to I think you said 115 for finance director? I mean, I don't know that.
Yeah, sure.
Answer it right this
Sure.
minute, but
I feel like I've asked this question, especially last time when we went through and looked, I think we came up with about $80,000 or so.
75,
I think it's 75, it's
75 for Rogers.
And then we had some for the comptroller.
The comptroller is budgeted at the salary schedule that's current for that grouping. And I would assume that we'd be safe that we would cut back on our Alton Rogers expenses if we got a finance director. Not as much if we get, if we only fill the comptroller position, but yeah.
Well, I just have one more, but doesn't the comptroller position? Isn't that position doing jobs that the finance director would not be doing? Or would the finance director be doing reconciliations and?
I believe in the past, the finance director has done those tasks.
Sometimes.
Yes. And in the job description that exists for a finance director, it is included in there, specifically the bank reconciliation. So I think it originated with the comptroller because the finance director position was not getting filled. So we kind of did what, we could with restructuring and kind of backfilling with Alton Rogers services.
And the audit is separate Alton Rogers service, which would continue, but that's not part of this.
that's a separate line item, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
So are we saying we have a need to fill both the comptroller and a finance director? Not saying that's what we have budgeted, but is that ideally where we're at the city? Or if we had a finance director, we would not need the comptroller?
I think we could look at a restructuring if we did get a finance director that could take on those tasks. I do see other issues with workload in that department that I think need to be addressed.
So if we're budgeted for a comptroller, that's what we have. And we have roughly $75,000 budgeted towards a finance director with the Altman contract.
That'll only get us 1 quarter. Or
It's a half a year.
a little more, not the 70,000. You said it was 124 for half a year.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you're correct. I didn't-
So that doesn't,
Those
the
numbers before.
75,000 gets us.
It gets us what we've currently been paying for, correct, with the finance director support.
And a comptroller.
And with a comptroller.
So now we're not gonna have that.
But in the past, have we not always had a finance director and Barb's position? It wasn't necessarily always called comptroller.
Her old position is filled by somebody else now.
Okay.
That those duties stayed in that position.
Okay.
Yeah, we have another employee.
She has taken on finance director level
Mhm.
work.
Okay.
And I mean, I think there's a lot of hope that this new, NetSuite will make things much more efficient. That's painful in general for those guys,
Mhm.
and so that's a big unknown right now, like how much will really get automated and automated well. We have software now, but it seems like it's a fight everything.
It seems like conversation, at least through the last two, but not three work sessions we've had is, I think it's a pretty general consensus that we're leaving money on the table by not having a finance director. Like, we're losing money by not having that, as far as where our investments are at and reconciliation and accountability for who's paying their sales tax and who's not paying their sales tax, who's the enforcer of that. That's been my understanding with all of our conversations. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
I would agree.
So the $25,000 extra, if that's what we're gonna say, that from 100 to 123 to 125, or where we're saying the highest needs to be, is probably a conversation we need to have, and probably now need to have that conversation. And I don't think, my thought process on this is we did a very large increase with our collective bargaining agreement employees. I don't think it's wrong to think that maybe some of the wage ranges for our, I guess, non-exempt employees needs to be looked at too. I don't think raising that to 125,000 as the cap is the wrong thing to do.
115, I think is what.
Well, it'd be, the chief is in that group, so it'd have to be at least 123, is my understanding, correct?
That's a high end on the chief, so
Sure.
the police is different than the finance director, but they all fall in that same group.
Okay.
And so you're saying whatever we raise to, it's raising for all, for that group.
It doesn't mean
Group
you
four?
have to, it's group 3, but it doesn't mean you have to place everybody at that. high
Sure,
end.
sure, but that makes everyone in that group has that same salary range, so potentially
Yes.
they could be increased, they could work towards merit increase, however.
Or you could, if you're advertising and saying this is the range depending on experience, and if you get somebody who's really top notch and says, I would like to get this much, then they're eligible for it because that's what the range is. If the experience is.
Except for what it says level 4.
That code, yes, does say that,
Which is
but that you can,
fixable.
you can get city manager approval to go above that. I mean, there are some little nuances to that, but yeah, code.
I would rather
Title
it
4
be
code.
crisp and clean and clear, and we're not relying on exemptions to get our staff into positions. Hopefully, we all agree.
Well, I guess I'd like to see the budget adjusted so that we are funding that position, or funding a finance director position. And if that money has to, if the Alden Rogers line item has to go down.
So what are we gonna do? I mean, we have to. Okay, maybe I understand that correctly, but until we have a finance director, so you're saying take it out of finance, out of Altman Rogers and put it into finance, and then we pay Altman Rogers basically from the finance?
But isn't Altman Rogers going to be doing the finance roles? So if we don't have a comptroller, we don't have a finance director, is there something in code or stat or anywhere saying that we couldn't pull money from finance to pay Altman? To me, that seems very
You can
clear.
always do a budget revision.
Amendment, yeah, absolutely.
And to me, it seems very clear at that point to follow that money. This money is for the finance, and it's either going to this headcount, or this contracted services, instead of having it as a separate line item who's filling in for the finance director.
I think the
Yes.
problem is it's a professional service. Altman Rogers is not a salary. one.
Right, so it's, so
So
Alden
there's
Rogers is budgeted under professional services, the 52,180,
Right.
and everything else, or the other
Position.
city staff is under 5,000, 422,5,000.
Right.
So, yes, if we have to do a budget amendment, but I feel like we need to at least authorize the position to be advertised at a certain level so that we can try to recruit for that. We may not fill it, or it may take a little while to fill it, in which case that money will still be in professional services until,
I see 75,000 in
Yes.
finance. Oh, I thought you just said 50.
I was saying that the line item.
Oh, 52,180.
Yes, 52,180, and then the salaries and wages line item is 50,000.
Got it.
So we're talking about those two line items, right? Yeah,
Yes.
so. I would just like to see us at least try to fill that position. Because of what Casey was saying, that, there's been talk about that it would help to have more coordination in that role for making sure we're not leaving money on the table, and we don't spend any of it until the position is filled, so.
And so if we amend the budget, increase the debt, we just are gonna fill it with the allocated line item?
Currently, the budget is balanced with, a transfer from reserves or whatever you call it.
We had what?
And I think it's in there,
80,000.
yeah. It's,
Or you just take it from the professional services line item, move whatever the amount is from the 75,000 to.
I don't think that's gonna work.
Well, it won't
Yeah.
pay for, I mean, so you're saying don't advertise for a comptroller,
And advertise for
only for finance director? Otherwise, it's not enough money. It's only 75,000 unless you're adding it to the comptroller.
Which is what you'd have to do if you're gonna advertise at that amount for a finance director.
And
And
then,
then you're not advertising for a comptroller, and in the meantime, then we come February 4th, we have nobody. Yeah, well, yeah, we need to get, but then
Somebody
we're
up
eating into that, salary.
I think it's more likely to fill controller. Even though we've had that out for a little bit and haven't gotten much.
Haven't gotten anything? In the past with the finance director, when we did have it posted, was there any attention? And it came back that your salary's too low, or just no attention at all?
No qualified attention.
but we did have a headhunter.
I did reach out to Headhunter just to kind of see what that would cost to get, they want to take us on at our range. They did not think that they'd have any chance at being successful.
Did they give you
I mean,
feedback, at least?
That's the.
That was feedback.
That's perfect, that gives us somewhere to look at.
Yeah, so I think if, they did not tell me how much their services were,
Sure.
if they did take it on, because I think it's percentage based, but,
Would you have to go through a headhunter to?
no, I was just trying to think like, how can we get it more aggressive?
Right.
Because this is a critical role. But no, that's not.
Well, I guess it just depends, yeah, I don't know, I feel like it depends on what we want. If we're advertising for a comptroller, that's who we're gonna be appealing to. If we want a finance director, we have to raise the salary and advertise to that level. So if we feel like we don't need a finance director, then okay, then we
I
advertise.
think the issue is that it's not that we don't want one.
Yeah,
It's, we
fine
won't
with.
have a body, and we'd almost have to advertise for both, because we gotta get something.
Right, right.
So, and in order to do that, you're looking at a lot of money in a budget.
Or we could word it, we have an opening for this or this,
Yeah,
and put it out there that way.
Yeah,
whichever we feel, I would be interested in that.
And maybe, make the,
But we have to budget for the
So,
highest.
so what,
yes.
so what is for the comptroller, what's that, what do we have in the budget for the comptroller right now?
Get me a computer.
I would say we don't need to amend the 24 budget to do what we're gonna do. We'll come back when we have
Right.
found one or the other,
Mhm.
and then you do it.
Right.
However, one of the things we've been talking about also is if we call it finance director, charter says they do need to live in town within a month of getting the job or something like that.
Mhm.
I feel like we'd be more successful if we maybe found somebody, maybe somebody would be our full-time finance director remotely, come in 1 week a month or something like that. Which charter wouldn't allow right now, but that would be a lot to change. But that might be the way we have to shift for other departments too.
Yes.
So. Very, yeah, and I don't want to rush into that one, because that's a very, very slippery slope, very slippery.
Finally, it's a very large spreadsheet. So the comptroller position, I placed it rather high in here.
Okay, that's to our benefit.
Yes. That's 91, I don't have the. that in front of me.
Yeah,
Keep going,
six,
virtual.
seven.
Okay.
I don't know where it falls for finance director.
So that would be a difference to bring it up to the max of the, how finance director's currently in the wage scale. It's a difference of 27,000, sorry.
So it'd be about 40, another 10 or
Well, the Benny's would be about
to get the.
Yeah.
So a question on that, so we have this position open now, or we're actively
The comptroller.
looking for the comptroller? For the alternate contract, the 75,000, we pay as we use, is that how that is paid out? Is it monthly, is it
It's invoiced by hour,
by hour?
like a kind of a normal contract.
Invoice by hour, but we're receiving that invoice
Monthly.
monthly, okay, so we're paying out monthly, I feel like if we are looking early on in the year, there's an opportunity to make up that difference. If we're able to fill that position early on in the year, we're not going to use all $75,000 in that alternate account. Is that a correct way to look at it? That's